Hello, everybody. This is our webinar where we're going to talk about our ideal client avatar. So I dropped this sheet in the chat. It's 2 pages. We're going to go through this for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to talk about what to do with this information. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the chat for everybody who just joined in. All right, so what we're talking here, our ideal client avatar sheet, the first thing I want to focus on is the name. You want to give your ideal client a name, and I would suggest doing something alliterative. So for me, it's like Andy Attorney or Larry Lawyer, something along those lines. I know Clayton talks about working with women trying to do their financial plan for the first time. So, Pamela Planner, something along those lines. I like the alliteration. I think it's memorable. As you grow, a lot of times firms will have maybe 2 different ideal clients. Right now, we're going to focus on one. So what is the occupation? For me, my ideal client's occupation is a lawyer. Age, think through what age makes sense. For a lot of what we do, it's not going to matter. That being said, if you are trying to work with people who are more financially secure, they tend to be a little bit older. If you focus on new parents, they tend to be a little bit younger. So we're going to put a range in there. Gender-wise, if gender matters, feel free to go ahead and pick gender. For me, I'm always impressed that my clients are almost 50% men and women. Annual income, we want to have something in here. If you are not sure about the annual income of your ideal client and you don't want to ask them, which is totally fine, what I would suggest is try to research online. So, if you are working with a lot of mid-level business executives, great. Go online and look up on Glassdoor, type into Google, search for what that looks like. For me, I'm targeting attorneys, solo attorneys. Solo attorneys tend to make, on average, a little under $100,000 a year. My clients tend to make a little bit above that. Marital status, if this matters, feel free. Obviously, divorce attorneys, your marital status is going to be huge. And then obviously, as when people get divorced, when people get married, that becomes a good time to do a new estate plan, to redo their finances, those sort of things. Education, obviously, my ideal clients are all going to have a JD or some other sort of postgraduate degree. Figure that out for your clients, write down what it is. And then, do they have kids? So this one becomes really big. We don't obviously market to the children, but so much of what we do is centered around kids. A lot of my lawyer coaching clients are coming to me because they're about to have kids, because their kids are going to school now full time and they can ramp back up, because their kids are now old enough to join the company. So this becomes a huge thing for me. For my ideal client has kids, but then the kids end up being either 0, 5, or 25. And so it's really interesting to talk to your ideal client through the lens of them having children and their children's ages. And then organizations. So what organizations is your ideal client in? If you're working with people in the same industry, what local organizations are there for your people to go to? There's the real estate group, there's the lawyer group, there's the doctor group, there's there's chambers of commerce, whatever commonality you have among your clients. You're going to have an opportunity to write out those organizations in as much detail as possible for the purpose of getting a good idea of what they're doing, having this ideal client avatar in mind, and then ultimately getting in front of them. Because if you can go present or go to a conference or get a booth at an event that has 200 of your ideal clients because they're all a part of the same organization, that becomes probably a worthwhile marketing strategy, right? Versus not having any idea about your ideal client. So any questions from there? We start out with kind of the demographics up at the top. All right. Hearing no questions. So we're going to drop down here. What do they do in a normal day? This is something I want you to really flush out as best as you can, because what ends up happening is you will find better opportunities to get in front of your clients based upon their normal day. So if your client is, the PTA parent taking their kids to school, then they're driving their kids to school at that time frame. They might be listening to the top 40 radio station at the time. So now instead of running some, crazy rush hour traffic radio campaign, you might target that specific channel during school drop off. Or maybe they're sitting in line to pick up their kids. And if they're anything like my kid's school, a bunch of parents show up like 30 minutes early. So maybe 30 minutes before pickup, where parents are sitting there waiting to pick up their kids. Maybe that becomes a good opportunity. If your ideal client is going to the gym every day before work, that becomes an opportunity to potentially market at their gym. If they're listening to Spotify during the day, that becomes someplace. If they get home after a long day and they grab a bottle of wine and they sit on the couch and watch something on Hulu, you can advertise on those. So really flushing out what your idea is of this normal day is going to give you a lot of opportunity to figure out how you can get in front of your client. So I wouldn't skimp on that question. If you are not sure, feel free to ask clients. Please don't let anything on here take the place of you asking any of your ideal clients what they do, what their day looks like, what their calendar looks like, what they're interested in, some of the things that we have here, and really go deeper with them on that. Otherwise, make it up. And so we're going to talk after this about using AI. This is a really good question to fill in with AI. Hey, my ideal client is a lawyer running their own practice where they grow $750 a year or more. They probably have kids. They're probably about this age. What do you think their normal day looks like? Well, so they're going to get up. They're going to get the kids ready. They're going to take them to school. They're going to go to their office. They're going to do a networking lunch. They're going to go to a bar event. They're going to come home. Their spouse is going to pick up the kids. They're going to do dinner. It'll put some of those things in place. But the more you have that idea in mind, the easier it is to do all of this marketing, because you'll see, where are they, where you can get marketing in front of them? What are some of their other needs? What are some of their struggles? How can you really talk to the things that are difficult for them in their average day? Like I would tell you, the biggest difficulty I have in life is getting my child ready for school and getting my child to go to sleep. So if somebody could sell me a solution to either of those things and get it to me, on my phone right beforehand, or on, I don't know, what do we watch? Disney Plus. Well, I guess we don't have ads. Anyway, whatever, like if they could really hit that specific problem, it would be great. Your clients are going to be going through their normal day with specific problems that you help them with. So now I want to look at the next question on both sides. What do your clients want? I think for the most part, nobody wants to hire any of us. They have a problem that they want it to go away, right? Like nobody wants to hire a marketing company. They want more leads. Nobody wants to hire a business coach. They want a better business. Nobody wants to buy insurance. They want to know that they are covered should things go sideways. So a lot of this is peace of mind. It's protection. It's, what do they want? They want to know what they don't know, things along those lines. Excuse me. And the flip side of that, what do they want to avoid, right? What's the fear of our clients? Are they afraid that they're going to be a bad parent? Are they afraid that they're not going to be able to retire? Are they afraid that they're going to have to close down their business? Are they afraid that they're going to get sued and not be able to cover it? Are they afraid, what is that fear? So I want to look at this aspirationally. Excuse me. Sorry. So aspirationally, what they want, and reactively, what do they want to avoid? I don't know that we're going to market necessarily to both of those things for everybody, but I want you to list it out. So what do they want is the positive, and what do they want to avoid is the negatives. And then based upon your specific offering, you're going to target one of those things or both of those things. If you are trying to come to your clients for the standpoint of selling them thriving, like me, I'm going towards what they want. If you are more fear-based and going towards, scarcity mindset, you want to target what they want to avoid. So it's not necessarily that one's right or wrong. It's the thought process behind what you are offering people. If you're getting them pleasure, it's what they want. If you're helping them avoid pain, it's what they want to avoid. And so everybody's business is going to be slightly different, and everybody's offering is going to be slightly different in terms of which one of those makes more sense, or both. But looking at them as two separate lists really helps you craft a better message. So for me, if you look at any of my marketing, a lot of it is more towards the wants. It's wanting to get home for dinner every day. It's wanting to be able to make it to all of your kids' sporting events. It's wanting to be able to, have the practice you've always dreamed of and the life that's even better. There are a lot of other coaching companies that are attacking the avoiding. Hey, avoid a giant tax bill, avoid having to fire your staff because you can't afford to pay them, avoid having to close down your business. There's nothing wrong with either of those ads. It's just, if you look at these as two separate lists, it really helps you target the kind of messaging and the specifics of it. And then the beauty becomes, and I know we've got a great marketer here at our meeting. The beauty of this becomes you can run different ads. So, you can take 3 or 4 different things that your client wants, and you can run a specific ad set to each of those things and see which one resonates the most. Do my clients want to be able to raise a child while having their firm? Do they want to be able to get out of the day-to-day and be a CEO? Do they want to be able to take 4 weeks vacation every year? Like we can target a lot of these events and wants on an individualized marketing plan, and then, have a lead magnet with it and all stuff like that. Any questions so far? I had a guest on my podcast who asked me a great question. It was, what is the most common thing that you hear your guests talking about over and over again? And I come back to one of two things, either intentionality or coming up with a really clear picture of your ideal client. Who is the person you want to work with? So from that, I put together our ideal client avatar sheet. It's about 30 questions that you can put together to get a really strong picture of your client avatar. And then what I suggest you do with that is figure out all the things you're doing that don't make sense for that person, get rid of them. Stop doing them right now, and instead replace that time with things that do make sense for your ideal client avatar. And when you're in ChatGPT or other LLMs, drop in your avatar, tell it, look, I'm trying to target these people, I'm writing to these people, I'm putting together a party for these people. That will help you get better responses from AI and your staff and your marketing, which will ultimately lead to better results, which will ultimately lead to you living the life you've always dreamed of. All right, so the next one, what else do they want that is relevant to my legal services or to what I offer? This one becomes really interesting because all of us offer something, and a lot of our clients need something else on top of it, something else with it. So for example, financial planning and estate planning become very similar, right? Like they need both. You offer one, they're going to need the other one. Marketing and staffing go hand in hand. They need more cases, they need more people. They need more work, they need more people. From an insurance standpoint, you're insuring a building, right? You're insuring the growth of their business. So do they need to buy, do they need a realtor to find a larger property? Do they need to hire, an HR rep now that they're growing? Do they need to bring on employee benefits to offer health insurance and something to their clients? There's a ton of opportunities here that are very relevant to what you offer that everybody is going to need at the same time that they need you, right before they need you, right after they need you. And so sometimes you're going to look at this as an opportunity for you to add another service, or you're going to look at this as an opportunity to get some really good referral sources. I love my clients having a marketing company. I get referrals from other marketing companies. I love my clients having really good books and really good financials, and I get referrals from fractional CFOs and from bookkeepers. And I like my clients having a great tax strategy, and I get referrals from good tax strategists. And I love my client, there are other experts I like my clients to have. Excuse me. And then all of us are positioned to make that referral. Every time I talk to somebody in the trades, I'm always like, look, what you do, and that one layer above it, right? Like you go in for pest control, and that if they chew up the pipes, you're going to need new piping, you're going to need new AC, you're going to need new vents, all of those things. It's the same for every professional service. The more that we can talk about what else they want that's relevant to what you offer, the better it is in terms of making referrals, making connections, getting cases from people, passing clients to other people, and then potentially expanding out your offering. I know there's a lot of financial people that are offering estate planning. I know there's a lot of estate planners that have went and gotten their RIA, Clayton, is that registered independent advisor or something like that, so that they can offer the professional services side of it, right? Like we can look at this as expanding what we offer and also as building better relationships with people. The next biggest question I want to touch on is, what other options do they have to their problems, right? So for insurance, what other option do they have? In some cases, they must have insurance. In some cases, they can be penalized for not. In other times, they can take the risk. And so knowing those options helps you market to them. Can they do this themselves? Can they is there a cheap LegalZoom? Is there a cheap website they can go to? Can they go to Robinhood instead? What are some of these other options? And this is going to help you figure out why you are the benefit of this, right? Like I talk to estate planning attorneys all the time who tell me you can go to like Office Depot and for $10, there's like a printout will, let alone LegalZoom. So what's the difference? You should be able to explain a difference. There is all of the benefit that you provide. There is better customer service. There is more understanding of what the situation is. There is asking them questions to figure out the things they don't know. There is the fact that if they get that will and then they move to another state, it's no longer valid, and now they have to go through probate. They're going to lose a ton of money. Like knowing what those other options are allows you to speak to why they should not go with those other options. So line them out, and then we want to start addressing them. This may not be something that you address in your initial marketing, but this becomes stuff that's really good for other follow-up sequences, right? So from an attorney standpoint, if you've been in a car accident, it happened, right? You may need medical help, but the case is going forward. You have some period of time where you can file a claim. You have to get looked at in a certain period of time. If you were arrested, the case is going forward. So like their options are not to hide their head in the sand. If it's optional insurance that they really need, that they really should have, but are not required to have. If it's estate planning services and no one wants to think about their death, if it's planning for retirement and people think, they have plenty of time, they don't have enough money, can they do nothing? And what becomes the risk of doing nothing? And how do you speak to that concern? And how do you position yourself as a better option than doing nothing? Because at the end of the day, like all of us currently have systems that get us the current results that we have. When we hire a company, it's because we're looking for some sort of different result. And it could be we want our landscaping to be better. It could be we want to know that we can die without negatively impacting our family as little as possible between, life insurance and an estate plan. So what are the other options? Is it doing it themselves? Is it going to a cheaper option? Is it getting this help from somebody else? Is it, their life insurance at work? That's probably not sufficient, but they might have it. So listing these out will help you address them. And along those lines, who are your clients' enemies? Is it the insurance company trying to keep them from the recovery they want? Is it the concept of death? Is it, the economy potentially taking their business? Is it other competitors? Is it, what is that enemy? Is it Google? Are they at the mercy of Google's algorithm and that's their enemy? This allows us to position you as their guide against that enemy, as their shield, as their protector. It really helps you get in the right mindset to walk them through what is oftentimes the worst part of their life, right? Like people are coming to us, they just had a spouse pass away, they just got sued, and now they need insurance for the next time. They need to get an estate plan. They need, they're going through divorce. Their business is going to fail if they don't get more leads in the door, right? Like a lot of times they're coming to us not necessarily in the best place. So we should be there for them with an understanding of what their concern is. And then here, I like, what are the top 3 immediate goals my services can help them achieve? What is the immediate things that you can do for them? So if they have, 27 different retirement plans in 27 different places, can you get all of it into one spot and give them the percentage chance that they can retire with what they currently have? That may not be a great number, but getting that together allows them to see where we can build off of that. If they have never had an estate plan before, getting them the form. These are the 15 questions I need answers to. This is the immediate thing that I can help you achieve this. If it's from an insurance standpoint, looking at their already existing policy, pricing out what a new policy would be, pricing out what new things they need, sitting down with them, from a marketing company, talking to them about their ideal client. So now you can put together a proposal to get in front of their client. What are the 3 immediate goals that you can help them achieve? It's not the final long-term goal. It's not the retiring with plenty of money. It's not knowing your business is fully protected. We'll get to that later. What are some of these quick wins you can have? For me, from a coaching standpoint, a lot of times my quick win is talking my client through their long-term vision and explaining to them where they don't have a strong enough vision. We'll work towards achieving that vision over the next, 12, 18 months, whatever it looks like. But getting all of that together in one place becomes really helpful. And then I start having them do a time audit. So now within, 2 weeks of one of our meetings, they can see where they're wasting a ton of time at their business that's not going to get them to those long-term goals. And then we can work on delegating one of those things. And so now, through the first 2 or 4 weeks of us working together, we've had a bunch of quick wins. They can see progress over time. So what are the things that you can do, those immediate goals that you can help? And look, the reality is sometimes you are telling them what they don't want to hear, but the fact that they are hearing it is that first goal, right? Like if they have no chance of retiring currently, at least they know that now. And now you can put together a plan over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever the timeline is, to get them to having the opportunity to retire. They may not know what their future looks like, and you might be painting a bad picture for them at the beginning. That's the reality of the situation, but create a plan so that at the end of it, everything comes together correctly. And then, you build trust with them along the way. And then, here I like 3 reasons why they need to hire you, your firm, your company. What's better? Why are you better than LegalZoom? Why are you better than Lemonade for insurance? Why are you better than them going to Robinhood? Why are you better than the competitor next door? Why are you better than the big player online who's nationwide? Why you? Why are you the best fit? And really have this answer. Be honest with yourself. There are times where a smaller company is better because they build that more one-on-one relationship. There are times where a larger company is better because they get access to more supportive resources and knowledge. So you need to sell them on the benefit of where you break down on that. Sometimes it's extra beneficial for them to be working with somebody local. Why? Explain that to them. What's the benefit? What opportunities do they have having a local person versus somebody, nationwide? And now it may be a situation where all the licensing is state by state, and that may be beneficial. It may be a situation where you have access to different investments. It may be a situation where you're going to network for more business for them just from knowing other people. Have these, at least 3 things lined up for why they need to hire you, why you are the right fit. Because ultimately we're building your ideal client who should be right for you, but you need to explain to them why you are right for them, right? This is a 2-way street. It is you and the client meeting together in the middle for the purpose of every fit being correct. Any questions before we get to the second page? All right. So here is, I am assuming everybody here already has clients, and I'm assuming you like at least some of those clients. This is that opportunity. So what did I do for prior clients that they particularly liked about working with me? I would suggest you should focus on what did I do for prior clients that I liked? What did they particularly like? I believe we all have pain in the butt clients. I'm very lucky that coaching wise, I don't, certainly not the same way that my law firm does. But I have some clients that are that much better, that much easier to work with, do what I say, show up prepared to meetings. So what do they like? They like that I'm giving them the clarity. They like that we have the takeaways. They like that we send them reminder emails. They like that we meet at a consistent cadence. Great. What is that feedback? And here, I want you to actually try and get the feedback. Whether that's, booking an extra 30 minutes with your client and asking them some of these questions, whether it's sending them an email, whether it's offering to take them to lunch and pick their, assuming that you have, Clayton says people like responding to emails. Yes. Responsiveness. Great. So now that's something you need to prioritize. And so I would suggest, if you have to pay some money for your client's time, taking them to lunch, having them come to the office, something along those lines, and asking them these questions, it would be great. And I would suggest, if you can, record these answers, and assuming the client's okay, using them as video testimonials. You will edit certain things out, like the what didn't they like, or what can you do better, but getting those answers becomes huge. My book, Love Your Law Firm, takes my journey and gives you the practical steps that I took, as well as some things that I did to avoid. Now in the second edition, though, we incorporate some stories from a bunch of my coaching clients, so you have a more well-rounded understanding of what it will take to run a great law firm. That being said, because I'm a lawyer and we wrote this for lawyers, I was told I have to provide a warning for the book. Reading this book could cause excessive delegation and might ultimately end up with you enjoying running your own law firm. I hope you'll check it out in the link below. Nothing will ever be better than actual responses from actual clients that you really liked. What benefits did they enjoy from the services I offered? It amazes me what people will highlight. So I have a PI firm in Orlando. I have handed clients hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks. And one of them was like, I really like that when my car was broken, you guys had somebody I could talk to who found me a car that I needed that was way cheaper than everything I could find. And I was like, all right, cool. So it's not like the $100,000. It's the fact that you could get a minivan for $4,000 less by talking to our car broker. Great. Something for us to know. So really asking these questions, what didn't they like about the service? What can I do better? What can the company do better? A lot of people will not give you an honest answer. They'll say nothing. You would prefer to get some sort of response, and sometimes you'd be surprised by what the response is. Hey, what didn't I like? I didn't like that. I don't know that you responded to my emails over the weekends. I don't know. I don't know what people are going to say. Ask them this question, and then use this as an opportunity to grow. I wouldn't take everything that people say for what you can do differently as something you need to do. But if you start hearing the same thing, from multiple clients, I would lean into that. So the forms were really complicated. I had to answer a lot of questions in one sitting. I couldn't get a meeting for 2 days. I couldn't get anybody to call me back same day. Like, whatever comes up, when you know that it's a good thing for you to be working on, it's a great opportunity for you to incorporate some of that stuff. Is there anything that you did not do that the client wishes you did? I will tell you, most of the answers that I get to this question are things I don't offer. Hey, I wish you also could have helped me with this other case. I wish you also could do my billing for me. I wish you also could, come to the office every single week and train my team. A lot of times it becomes things that we just don't offer. But when you hear those things, that goes back to those earlier questions about the other needs related to your services. And so making sure you have a network of people that do those things, that offer that can be there for them, becomes a really good opportunity to build more referral relationships and then ultimately provide a better service to your clients. Because if you can find them the right person to solve their problem, even when it's not you, they're going to be that much more committed to you. And then what other feedback did I get? I would ask always, anything else you want me to know? Anything else you didn't say? Anything else that would be helpful? If you're looking for reviews while you have this, I would love, what would you say to somebody else who was on the fence about hiring my firm, my company, me? People will give you the most amazing testimonials to that response. You will get things like, I would tell them to do it with no hesitation. It's the best decision they will ever make, and they will regret not hiring you sooner. Things like that become great, especially if you're recording all these. And then what other tips and tricks can I learn from other lawyers, other professionals, other businesses based upon my prior experiences? So these top questions are your clients. This last one is you. For example, my dentist has their core values written when you go into the front desk. And I thought that was great. And so immediately I went online. I had us print out our core values onto a poster board, and we had it mounted on the wall. Thought that was awesome. My kids' gymnastics place had a sign above the door that said, "Thank you so much for trusting us with your children." So we put a thing above our door that said, "Thank you so much for trusting us with your case." Like, you can, as you use other companies, you can find some of these things that really stand out to you and use them as an opportunity to provide better service. All right. So any questions? All right. So now what do we do with this? I'm going to use ChatGPT. So I am going to upload, let me download this. Hold on. Download. All right. So I'm going to upload the ideal client avatar sheet to my ChatGPT. And now I'm going to go into dictate mode. Hey, can you hear me? Yeah, great. So it's picking up at the same time. Use everything you already know about me to answer all the questions contained in this sheet. Ask me whatever questions you don't know the answer to from everything you already know about me. And so you all may not have, I use ChatGPT a ton. So I think it's going to know most of this stuff. Client avatar based on what I know. Occupation, age, gender, income. Yeah. So, it said income. It knows firm revenue for me. Married, JD, oftentimes. Yeah. So this knows me. You could fill in the stuff. I like using dictation mode for this. What do they do in a normal day? Great. What do they want to avoid? Great. Who are their enemies? Bad systems. Their own. This is the most honest thing we'll come across today. My clients' enemies are their own lack of personal boundaries. That's a great one. So out of chaos, great. Hire you. Paid. Feedback. Page 2. Great. All right. So this is so mine's pretty good from already having the answers. You can dump more information into it. I like using dictation mode like we did here So questions I need to answer, only what's missing. Okay, so do you want this avatar to be, the avatar can be all law firm owners. Coaching with me is about $25,000 a year, so it probably doesn't make sense if they're under the $500,000 range to be coachable. Right now, clients come to me more for building a better life than they do from the burnout. They're being more proactive. Who do I not want as a client anymore? I don't want anybody who is solely interested in money. If you just want more money, there's plenty of other coaching programs. And I find those people, I have to explain to them to treat their employees better a lot. So that's what I don't want. And then what belief must someone already have or be open to work with them? I need them to believe that they can have a great life and a great business at the same time. If they don't have that, that's never going to work. I need them to have that belief. Now they can get that belief from reading my newsletter and following my podcasts and all those things. But ultimately, that's something I need them to be at least open to, because too often people are closed off to it. All right, so I dropped that in on mode, and now we're going to put that in. And then, so once you have yours, here it is, going through it, great. They already have something working. This becomes great for my clients. There's a lot of other coaching companies that like dumpster fires. I want somebody that's already doing a lot right so that I can help them get to the next level. So this is great. It's very specific to me. All right, and so we have all this. How should we use this? Oh, you're getting ahead of yourself. All right, cool, ChatGPT. All right, so it gave me even more than I wanted, but here's what I want all of you to ask. What other information do you need from me that would be helpful for you to better understand who my ideal client is? What other information do you need from me that would be helpful for you to better understand who my ideal client is? Let's see what else it asks. All right, so now we're getting into decision behavior. This is great. This is a huge one. A lot of my leads, they're like, I've been following your newsletter for years. I heard you speak years ago, so that's awesome. What is in? We're going through. All right, so we're going to give this another like 10 seconds for it to write this out, and then again, I'm going to go down the list and just dictate an answer to all these things. Obviously, if we weren't doing this in a webinar, I would take slightly longer than we're doing here, but honestly, not much, because so much of this is going to be like your gut knowing these answers off the top of your head, and when you don't, letting the system know, hey, I'm not sure. Tell me what you think. I think we are. Yep. All right, we're good. So we're going to go back into dictation mode. How long do people usually follow me before they reach out? It's usually years. My clients have read my newsletter for years. They've seen me at a conference. What finally makes them pull the trigger? Either A, there is a specific event that has happened. They're going to have a kid. Their kid's going to school. Their kid wants to join the company. Or B, a lot of times they're like, and I finally think I have the money now. That's the other one that becomes the trigger for now. From listening to what I said for free, they now have the money. Who else do they usually talk to before hiring me? Definitely a spouse. Most of my clients don't have partners. In the legal sense, most of them own the entire firm. If they do have partners, then yes, they would talk to them. What do your best clients call themselves? My best clients call themselves want to be CEOs or want to be entrepreneurs, and then we build them up into removing the want to be. What phrase do they say that makes you think, yeah, this is my person? They talk about everybody else. Like, so many lawyers have the reputation of being egotistical jerks. My clients have never put themselves first. That's my person. We are actually going to work on becoming more selfish in a way that actually helps you grow yourself and your business. That becomes huge. What phrase immediately makes you cautious? I just want to make a bunch of money, or I need to change things tomorrow. Things that become the biggest issues for me. Relationship to money. How do your ideal clients talk about money? Most of the time, my clients are talking about it from the security and freedom standpoint. Like, hey, I hate having to worry about making payroll. I hate having to worry about not being able to afford vacation for my family. I want the freedom to work less. I want the security to be able to, accomplish these things without being worried about money all the time. What money behavior do you respect in clients? Investing in people, paying well, long-term thinking. Yes. There is no decision I have ever made where a shorter term decision ended up better for me in the long run. It is the long term thinking. And now, let's be honest, if you can't make payroll in 2 weeks, you can't do long term thinking. So I want people that we are going to either already have that long term thinking or be ready to build to it. What money behavior instantly signals a bad fit? The people that think they can throw around enough money and own other people. Like, I've talked to other coaches that have had clients come in and hire them for 10 times their regular rate, and all of them told me how terrible that was. Like, it just became that one person that thought they could get everything. They said jump and wanted the person to ask how high. So those become a bad fit. Like, if my clients are like, hey, why don't I just pay you 10 times what you're charging and we can meet for an entire day every single week, that's just not going to be a good fit for me. Like, I have a cadence that works because I don't want to be a crutch to my clients. All right, so employee and leadership posture. How do your best clients talk about their team? Frustration with responsibility. Yeah, like that becomes, hey, I feel like my team is underperforming. I feel like it's my fault. I feel like we don't have consistent systems. I struggle getting people to follow the systems. Those become things. So they talk about frustration, but not necessarily frustration about the other people. What leadership behavior makes you want to go all in for a client? That, like, when a client is like, hey, my business sucks because of me, and I really want it to be better for myself and my staff and my clients, that's what makes me go all in. What makes me detach? Victim mentality. I do not want to coach victims. The more that we take ownership over our own problems, the better we are going to be. If the minute we make everything into a victim, it's never not something I want to work with. And then people that only complain because in 6 months they'll be with another coach complaining about me because they're just a complainer. So those are the two things that make me detach. When my ideal client imagines a great life, what do they picture? Yes, time with kids, travel, health, community. Like, my clients want to make an impact. They want to leave a legacy that really matters. What are they secretly afraid of losing if they change how they work? I think they're afraid of what other people will think. If they finally start talking about being able to have a fun life, they think that there are those colleagues that will think it's not real and that they're, not helping clients, when every single one of my clients will tell you the more they put themselves first, the better they were able to serve clients. What would success look like 3 years after working with you? The last client who fired me left me the best testimonial. She's like, hey, Jordan got me everything I ever wanted. And if anything goes wrong, I will immediately be back with him. But right now I am super happy. So that's what success looks like. And then the edge. What do you see in people before they see it in themselves? Usually their benefits, usually their positives. Again, like, a lot of us are our own worst enemy. What do clients thank you for that you didn't even realize you were doing? I have had so many clients cry in our conversations, not sadness, like tears of understanding, like, oh my God, all of these problems are because of this one situation that happened when I was a kid. All these things come back to me. Like, thank you so much for making me realize I am the problem. And then ultimately it's great because we have an easier time changing ourselves. We have an easier time controlling our own behavior than anybody else's. If someone got everything you teach but ignored one principle, which one would break the whole thing? I think genuineness or authenticity. Especially, like, a lot of my clients, we're going to help them build a better brand online just because now they're doing more fun stuff. They're out there more. They're able to do things. If they're making it all fake, it's going to break everything else. Like, I want them to be themselves loudly and help them with that. So now we're done with this one. We're going to drop this back in. I talked for a long time. It's taking a while to get the dictation. But again, I talked for 5 minutes. All right, done collecting. Lock the avatar. Surface problems. Here we go. Want to be the CEO. Want to be entrepreneurs. They are thoughtful. They're not egotistical jerks. They're often the opposite. How do they find you? What triggers the call? How do they make decisions? What sentence signals my person? What sentence signals no? What's the relationship? Now, you may not get the same results. Like, my ChatGPT knows me really well. It knows what I tend to want. Yours may not give you this specificity. But again, I would just keep going through the same process. What other information do you want to better understand my ideal client? Money behaviors, hard yes, hard no. How do they talk? What about? What makes you detached? Their vision of a great life, their secret fears, what success looks like, their true edge. Great. The one principle, one sentence. Jordan coaches law firm owners who are ready to stop sacrificing themselves, take responsibility for their leadership, and build a great business that supports a great life without pretending to be someone they're not. Great. That's not exactly the line I would use, but that is, I have no problem having people that are that. So that's awesome. All right. So now, what are we going to do with this avatar? Any questions before I answer that? All right, so I would take this information the last answer, the whole thread, and you're going to give it to anybody who needs to have it. So give it to your marketing company, give it to your business coach, give it to your board of advisors, give it to your spouse, give it to your employees, give it to your intake person, give it to, anybody whose opinion you value that you can share this stuff with, especially when they're your mentor, when they're playing a role in your business, and ask them what they think. What do you think about this? What can I do with this? What are some opportunities for this? Whatever stands out from them. A lot of times they are going to have some insight on your ideal client that you may not have, that you can go deeper on. Other times they're going to have ideas. Oh my God, your ideal client sounds exactly like my buddy Jerry, who was just looking for blah, blah, blah. Let me connect the two of you, right? Like sometimes this will become leads from you handing somebody this avatar that is very similar to them. Another thing is pretend you are my ideal client and explain to me 10 different ways that you would like to be marketed to for the purpose of hiring Jordan to then coach you. So you can start talking to it as if it is your client. So I'm answering in character. Here are 10 ways I want to be marketed to. Long form newsletters. Guess what? I write a newsletter. Conference talk. Guess what? I go and speak at conferences. Stories about other owners. Great. We share testimonials. Contact that makes me feel safer talking to my spouse. Oh, that's cool. Never thought about that. So like you want to have a supportive spouse. I just did a podcast episode with my wife about this. Clear, calm, disqualifying language. Great. Here's some good stuff. Podcast. It sounds like real conversations. I have a podcast. I hope it sounds like real conversations. Messaging that respects the years I've already put in. I think that's great. I don't like talking to my clients like they're failing. They're not. They're in the top 1% already. We're getting to the top 1% of 1%. Slow exposure, no aggressive CTAs, great. Proof that I care about people, great. One honest, simple invitation, no funnels, no tricks, no pressure. I'll be honest, I hate those things. I hate the this course is $997 because subconsciously that doesn't sound like $1,000 when it's $1,000. So I like this. So that's good. This sounds like me. All right. So I have some of the what's. Let's talk about the wheres. I'm going to just type this one. But where should I be marketing to this ideal client? Once my coaching clients have enough things off of their plate, now we get to go proactive. We get to design the ideal month for them to live over and over again. And don't worry, it's got the right amount of flexibility for fun stuff, but this is the foundation that we build everything upon. It's if you repeated these same 4 weeks over and over again, would you find the success you've always dreamed of? I want to give you this document totally for free. Just click the link below and check it out. And then if you need help implementing your ideal month or coming up with yours, you can always reach out to me for some one-on-one help. The answer is not everywhere. That's the best piece of advice AI or any marketer will ever give you. So primary, secondary, deprioritize. Show up, newsletter, it's the spine, live speaking conferences, podcasting, great. Secondary, LinkedIn, but don't chase virality, don't post daily, don't debate idiots. Thank you. That's also good advice. Referrals from other coaches, consultants, owners, my website, deprioritize Instagram and TikTok, low ROI for your buyer. And I'll be honest, I post, my team posts on these. I don't know that we've ever gotten anybody from Instagram or TikTok. Paid ads, optimize for speed, volume, shallow attention. Your buyer optimizes for trust. Ads can work for newsletter growth, event awareness, but not necessarily for the direct coaching conversation. Okay. And then cold outreach. Hard no, my buyer doesn't want to be pitched. I don't want to hard cold outreach, pitch anybody anyway. So here's the simple stack. Here's the real answer, etc. One of the other things you can do is, so down here, you can use voice, and you can, I'm not going to do it while we're having this conversation, but I will click this and just say, hey, I'm going to ask you questions as if you're my ideal client. What else don't I know? What haven't I seen? Deep research me, deep research my current social media. What of it do you like? What of it don't you like? You can have it play the role of your ideal client in voice mode, which I tend to think is easier for us to have conversations with. It's all right here. It's got the whole breakdown. The other thing is, if you were acting as a 140 IQ marketing expert who was my CMO trying to target this ideal client, what advice would you give that is different than what you said when you pretended to be the ideal client? So this is something I've been working with AI on over the last probably 3 months. I had Matt Burke on my podcast and we talked about like the different roles. And so now I've been a lot more focused on asking the same answer from 2 different roles. So in this case, the ideal client and then the marketing expert. So I'm going to answer this as the CEO. The CEO view, marketing already works, not doing the wrong things. It's under engineering the things that work. Client thinks slow is fine. CMO says engineer the slow. People follow you. CM view, it's great, but it's uncontrolled. Track how long, segment by tenure. Okay, great. So now it's giving me the expertise to support what it talks about. So the CMO is going to say the client wants zero pressure, remove the pressure, add the clarity. The CEO experience should be confirmational. CMO, generous, unbounded. So I'll read through this in more detail, but have these conversations. Like, you have the opportunity to have real clients. You have the opportunity to use the ideal client avatar. Here, you can have the AI pretend to be this client. Some of the answers it gave I thought were dead on. And again, mine knows me really well. If I did this in, like, yours may not be this good right off the bat, but just keep having that conversation. What other information can I give you? What other information can I give you? What else can be helpful? If you have ideal clients, hey, look, my ideal client is so-and-so. Deep research them online and find out more about them. Hey, my ideal client is in this industry. Deep research the industry. Tell me more about the industry that my clients are working in. Tell me more about what in-house CMOs at law firms are talking about right now. Tell me what board of directors for large law firms are discussing right now as the future problems that they're facing. Like, you can really have this dive in to the conversations taking place for your industry, the more that it understands this person. And then the other one I like is knowing what you know about me and knowing my ideal client. Tell me 5 things that you don't think I'm thinking of that would be really helpful towards me getting in front of my ideal client and better selling to my ideal client and better delivering great value for my ideal client. So my other favorite use of AI is, what are the things that it thinks I'm missing? Let's see what it says. You're underestimating the spouse as a silent stakeholder. Yeah, that's probably very correct. I probably am not. What the coaching actually does, how we can help. A podcast episode about family, time, and sustainability. Did that. That's great. I'm not naming the cost of an action explicitly enough. Okay, so I'm avoiding urgency because I don't want pressure, but it's strategically incomplete. Cool. I'm not packaging my graduation philosophy as a feature. Graduation should be marketed, not just experience. Interesting. Okay, cool. Treating my newsletter as content instead of a decision journal. Oh, my newsletter is excellent. Well, thank you, ChatGPT. I feel good about myself. Your ideal client thinks about it as private thinking space, permission slip, a mirror, not tips, should reflect the reader, not tips, not stories, not questions. Okay, so turn them into, ask more rhetorical questions. I like that idea. Underutilizing identity language during the sale. I don't even know what identity language is. Thinks like a leader, takes responsibility. Oh, got it. So talking to them about that. Here's how CEOs at this stage tend to think. Great. And then the real one, I'm excellent at much of these things. That's nice. Leaving value is making the invisible visible. So the identity shift, the end state, the support system, the stakes. Cool. So this is what I do probably an hour a week, is I will have just random conversations with ChatGPT about stuff. I will load, we record all of our internal meetings. I'll drop all the meetings in here and I will tell ChatGPT, how did I do? How can I be a better leader? And the biggest thing it always tells me is I coach my team too much. Instead of taking control of meetings, I let it linger a little bit as if I'm with a client. Whereas for my team internally, I should give them better advice. I should give them better direction instead of coaching them through it. the same time frame. Sometimes I agree with it. It'll give me specifics. It'll be like, hey, so-and-so said X, you said Y, you should have said Z instead. So depending upon the specifics, I'll agree with it or not. I'll always ask it, hey, what else am I not thinking of? I'll always ask it, what other information can I give you that will make your answers more specific? And then here we go. I sell a marketing plan. Can I just... Yeah, do we have any other questions? We've got 9 more minutes. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up, I have a making a marketing plan. It's a 20-page document that we sell. And I'm going to just drop it in a ChatGPT in this thread, and we're going to see what happens. And honestly, I don't know. I've used this document before with AI. All right, so fill out the attached document as much as you can from what you already know about my ideal client and what I do for marketing, and add what I should be doing. So it's a 20-page document that it read, and it's going to read it in 8 seconds. So this is the order of the plan. It has mission and vision, so it's giving me the answer to it. It has ideal client. It's giving me the answer to it from here. It has a SWOT analysis about the company, so it's giving me the opportunities, the threats. Ooh, louder, hype-driven coaches. Yeah, that's probably a threat. Clients waiting too long to act, definitely. Free content indefinitely, great. Being too reasonable publicly. I'm going to ask it more about that later. My unique selling proposition, what I do differently. Marketing channels that I already do, the secondary ones, what I should be doing more intentionally. My goals, the business goals, the marketing goals, my budget and resources. Your marketing strengths, time and attention, not cash. That's true. KPIs that actually matter, ignore those, track these. Implementation rhythm. Yeah, I mean, so it just took a 20-page document and gave me the actionable specifics of it in 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Like, it's amazing to me. And this is why, like, everything needs to start with this ideal client, because now, so let's say, write me a 5-email sequence for when someone reaches out to me but does not yet book a coaching consultation. Assumes they already trust me, they're thoughtful, the spouse, the hype. No hype. So here we go. Here's an email. Now, the M dash is dead. We can't do it anymore. AI has killed the M dash. So I would push it to remove those, make sure it sounds like me. But, you know, here's 5 emails pretty quickly. So there we go. And obviously, like, I would tweak from there, but I would tweak from there because it's a good enough start, knowing my ideal client, knowing what I'm going for me. Okay, so now write me 10 Facebook posts that will help get my ideal client to sign up for my newsletter. Recognition, anti-hustle, wannabe, spouse aware, long game, you're not the problem. And again, M dashes, but we can get from there. If nothing changed, calm but direct, how to use these, rotate them, don't post them all at once. All right, what about, what are 3 podcast episode topics I have not covered that I should cover for my ideal client's benefit? Here's 3 podcast topics. The hidden cost of being the responsible owner. Why you haven't really covered it yet. You talk about it isolatedly, not specifically, what it would unlock. Great. Smart law firm owners wait too long to change. Graduation is the goal. I don't want clients forever. Cool. So there we go. And then outline me the scripts, whatever. It'll do more from there. Yeah, so outline any of the episodes beat by beat. Same thing for newsletter topic. Not burnout, overfunctioning. Overfunctioning is a great word. It's you doing too much to enable others by doing their job for them. Why waiting until you're burned out is the worst time to change. If you don't decide what success looks like, your firm will decide for you. Great topics. So that's the benefit of having this ideal client, is you now have the opportunity to talk to that person or a virtual version of that person anytime, ask specific things, target them, figure out content ideas, etc. Any other questions? All right, so I am going to drop the client avatar sheet in here one more time for anybody else who came in. So take that sheet, fill out that sheet, put it into ChatGPT or your LLM of choice, ask it what other information it needs from you, go back and forth with that a couple times. And then when you think it has a really good rundown, turn it into voice mode and start talking to it. Interview it as if it's your client. Have it go through your marketing and say what it likes and what it doesn't like. Have it give you ideas. Give this to your marketing company. Turn this into a GPT. I could take this and say, hey, give me the instructions to make this a custom GPT about my thing. So now I can give other people access to talk to my ideal client. There's a ton of opportunities from this, but have your ideal client mind and then put it into the LLM and then start interacting with it. Have it review things. Have it come up with, if you get a proposal for a marketing company, drop the proposal in here. Does this make sense to get in front of my ideal client and see what it says? Like, go back to this. And again, we're not going to take everything this says for true. We're going to review it. I highlighted a bunch of answers that ChatGPT gave you that I think are exactly what I'm looking for in clients. If it was way off base, I wouldn't agree with it. But through enough conversation with it, mine's pretty dead on to what I'm looking for. The more you have the conversation, the more yours will be. And then, Clayton said it's pretty fun. It is. It's a blast. It amazes me the millions of dollars that companies spend to talk to their ideal clients. And you should still do that. You should still talk to your actual clients. Absolutely. That being said, when I have some crazy idea at 8 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, I can communicate with the digital version of my ideal client on ChatGPT instead of arguing about a client. Or I can ask the really hard questions. Hey, where am I not as good? I've had, some $2,000 a month. I've asked ChatGPT, am I worth it? Based upon what you know about me, what do I need to take the next step? And it's told me, being more specific about the actionable takeaways. The feedback you can get is amazing. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. We are at our time. I will hang out if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, have a blast.